Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I volunteered to help put some habitat into Apache Lake. So I did some filming of that, and so we got some video on what the habitats look like before they put it in, and I actually helped install some, meaning I helped dump some into the water in a couple places in the lake. Now, to be sure, they've put this habitat in a bunch of places in Apache, and somewhere on the Arizona Game and Fish website you can find it, and you can get the coordinates of this habitat. So go do that, and you can check out where the new habitat is. I've also did an interview of Andy Clark, who runs this habitat program. I believe I got that right. Anyway, there's one thing to note about that. That is, my audio was windy, so my audio, me asking questions of Andy, was pretty bad. The first part of the two-part interview, if you will, Andy's audio is pretty good, but the second part of the video isn't as good because we were traveling into the wind. So again, we'll do the best we can, and I think you can make out what Andy is saying. There's just going to be some wind noise. Anyway, thanks again for watching my channel. Please subscribe, add some comments, and like it if you don't mind. First, let's get a rundown of how this works. Here is all the raw material that goes into building the habitats. Volunteers help first create the cube structures, or the structures that they wrap this tubing around. They drill out parts of the tubing and they stick it on the structure of the PVC pipe. This makes for square habitat that has all kinds of cover associated with that piece of habitat. When a load of habitat is ready, the volunteers load it up onto the pontoon. Notice how they stack them high and wide as much as they can. Everything's kind of light, so it's easy to move around. Here I am standing in the back, just filming, and there's my captain of the pontoon, ready to go. It was a gorgeous day as we moved down the lake, just heading towards the area where we wanted to drop the habitat. Other boats were also doing the same thing as we did our work. Next is an interview with Andy Clark. I apologize for the wind noise. Next time I'll get it better. So here we are out on the pontoon delivering the fish habitat. As you can see, they're all stacked up here. We're going to one of their sites to drop these into the water. And here I have with me, or I'm with Andy, who's with the Arizona Game and Fish. And he's the captain of this boat, and I'm going to help him put stuff into the water. Andy, good to meet you.
Good to meet you, Joe. Yeah, I'm Andy Clark. I'm the statewide reservoir fish habitat and angler liaison program manager. Kind of a newly created program in the last couple of years. And so, yeah, thrilled to have you, and glad you came out to watch us do this, help us do this.
I'm glad to, and there's a whole other crew of other volunteers to help, so that's fantastic. So Andy, tell me about these particular types of habitat. What are they called? And then tell me what the purpose of them are.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so these we call Georgia cubes, and they were developed first in the southeast, Georgia DNR. And some folks working with them kind of came up with this idea of a PVC frame with corrugated pipe in the middle of them. This is a slightly different design than what they've used in Georgia. We've kind of modified this in Arizona to fit our needs. And the Georgia cubes are really effective in attracting bluegill, largemouth bass, even channel catfish once they're on the bottom of the lake. The cinder blocks in the bottom of these cubes really provide good cover for channel catfish as well. So the main thing we're trying to attract is the bluegill and the shad and those kind of smaller bait fish, small bass, and then the bigger bass kind of come in to as a hunting ground. They also provide a really good way for anglers to find fish. We try to put them in places depth-wise that are conducive to attract fish anyway, but just lack things to keep them there. So we'll put these in those drop-offs right, adjacent to deeper water. You want them shallow, but not too shallow. So 20 to 30 feet is optimal. These here, if you can see, Joe, how they're stacked on top of each other, we'll put them in the lake like that, and that provides just more vertical cover. We'll put them a little deeper, about 30 feet or so, and they're probably, I don't know, not quite 10 feet tall. So they're up in that 20-foot zone, which, for anglers, there's the layering that goes on in the summertime, and stuff that's past that thermocline, we call it, there's not as many fish. So you try to keep it in that thermocline where there's warm water meets cool water. That's where the fish want to be.
That's fantastic. That's interesting, because I know when I was fishing here in the summer, definitely they were above the thermocline, and then when the water cooled and probably the lake turned over, we were catching fish way deeper in December.
Exactly.
And it was shockingly how deep they went because of the no thermocline.
Yep.
So the strategy here is to place these in locations that near drop-offs that don't have any natural habitat.
Right. Or, in this case, we've had several other habitat projects we've put that stuff in, so we're going to try to augment those sites. We're going to put some more stuff in. This particular site we're at right now doesn't have anything in it. It's a new site.
And then how many sites are you going to do? And then also you're going to release all the site locations, right?
Yes. I believe we've got 20. Let's see how many I've got today. We got 12 sites that we'll do in this phase. We'll do a phase 2 probably next year about this same time. So we'll do maybe another 12 or add to these sites. We'll see how they go. We'll see how the fish respond, how the anglers are liking them, if they're catching fish on those. Things happen. Sometimes these break as we deploy them and they don't do as well. So we may need to come back and add more to them.
Got it.
We'll do some diving. We'll do some scuba diving on them and document what fish usage we're doing. So phase 1, we've got the 12 sites, and it's roughly 100 of these Georgia cubes spread over those 12 sites, and then I think it was 150 of mossbacks, and you can probably get some footage of that later.
Right?
Yep.
So let's get to it. We've arrived, and I know he wants to get going because we have a whole bunch to do. So we made a quick little shift in our initial location, and you can see here the background's a little different. I'm going to walk to the front. Here's all the habitat. These are stacked up on top of each other and they're bound together. You can see right there. And here's the weight, obviously. And here we got a couple too in the front that we're going to try to place on top of each other and not as close as possible together. And here's one of the spots that we're going to put some habitat in. Here I am trying to unload some of these habitat. And notice they're a little clumsy when they're stacked up, but nonetheless, I recovered and we just put them into the water. Andy would drive the pontoon to a location, other GPS coordinates, and I would do everything I could just to dump them over into the water without getting them hung up on the boat, which happened quite often. But nonetheless, it gets into the water, and like magic, habitat is created. And here comes the second part of the interview with Andy. Unfortunately, the wind is quite noisy, so I apologize, but Andy has a lot of interesting things to say. So we've seen him in action, and you talk about the purpose, Andy, of what they're doing. So let's talk about results. What kind of results do you expect, and what kind of results are you actually seeing?
Yeah, what we really hope to see is just anglers catching more fish, so they're able to find fish more easily. So when we build up these sites, we're going to come in with creel surveys, scuba surveys, different types of surveys through the angler groups and stuff, and just see how people are doing on them. And then if people are catching more fish, or at least finding the fish there, we know fish are using them, then we've got our success. That's really all we can hope for.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I know that. I fish with a midweek bass club, and I know guys will sit on habitat at various times, and if they find the fish on them, they'll definitely catch off of them. So there's no doubt that habitat works, and These are pretty interesting. They're big. They're going to stay in there a while, and they're, a bunch of different locations, or they're grouped up, so that should really provide great habitat for the fish to congregate and make it easier for anglers to catch. So at this point, the wind was just too bad. So let's just end the video now with a short clip of people building the second type of habitat, which I forgot what it was called, but this certainly looks more like trees designed to hold bait fish and or crappie. Thank you everybody for watching this video, and please subscribe and hit the like button. Lend a comment if you don't mind.